Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads, on this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have Kiko Ellsworth here with me on the show. Kiko is an Emmy Award-Winning actor, director, producer, author, self-defense expert, Kundalini instructor, man of many, many talents. Kiko, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey man, glad to be here. I love you. Thank you. I love you, everybody. What's happening? What's good, brother?
Let's get into some Kiko wisdom, shall we?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right.
Because it wasn't always there. I'm gonna tell you that.
I know that feeling.
Man.
Oh,
30 years in the darkest, man, will serve you some good.
Yep, that's definitely been a theme even this week for me, dealing with an ex-business partner that was a very challenging, betrayal kind of storyline from my perspective. And now this person's on like a deep spiritual path and just talked for the first time in 5 years. And that's what we talked about, was like, that manipulation and ego and destructive behavior actually now is serving, it creates something good. You can spin that into something really good ultimately. So it seems like that's been part of your path.
I think that's the point of it. I mean, honestly, I really have thought long and deep about that for many years, because most of my life I was on the toxic path. And I truly believe, for many of us, that you're supposed to choose what's not you, what's not good, what's the wrong decision. You're supposed to learn from what's not the path. And then you're supposed to learn as fast as possible so you don't keep choosing it. And that's when it can get really, really bad if you keep choosing it, right? But if you don't choose it and you learn, this is not it, I got it. Then you have to shift. It's your responsibility to shift. And then you have all those gems of that unconsciousness, that darkness, to be able to use for good, because it gives you wisdom, it gives you experience that you just can't have unless you were in the muck. You have to go in the muck. You just have to.
No mud, no lotus.
No one that's in the muck currently is gonna listen to someone who's never been in the muck. They're gonna be like, well, who are you? You haven't even been here. So like, get out of here. You can't even talk to me. Right.
Yeah. No mud, no lotus. And it is quite the journey that we're all on. And, why don't you start by telling us, giving us a little bit of backstory, whatever seems most relevant to the audience, for the audience to, get an idea where you've been and how you got to where you're at now.
Sure. Well, I mean, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and it was, I kind of just grew up a hustling sort of kid. So it was kind of like you come up, and I grew up a taker, and I had low self-esteem, and I didn't think much of myself, and I didn't have a voice, and I was shy and scared and all that stuff. And then I got into, fast forward in my marriage, I had no idea what I was doing. Again, didn't know who I was, how to give, couldn't show up, couldn't connect to, empathizing with her and how to really give her what she needed. And, I was lacking just myself. And it wasn't until we had what I got it to call afterwards a completion ceremony instead of a divorce, where we were both co-parenting, and she had a boyfriend at the time, and she said, hey, will you, I'm kind of stuck here. I'm stuck with my heart with him. I can't give him any further. Will you give me your blessing to move forward in this relationship? And in that moment, in those next, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes or so, when we had this sort of completion at that level, when I was giving her my blessing, it was like, there was tears, there was joy, it was all these emotions mixed into one. It was like, I got it. It was like all these parts, all these Christmas lights inside of me, all lit up at the same time, finally, because all throughout the years in our marriage, it was like, it'll be a little flicker over here, or a little flicker over here, or all the opposite ones would blink, and then the other ones would blink. It was just all uncoordinated. And then finally, they all just lit up at the same time when I gave, to her my blessing. It was like I was finally given, and I was blessed to myself as well. Like, I got it. It was like it just woke me up, So and so since that's when I like to say that I entered manhood permanently. That's when I finally felt like a man. And that wasn't
How long ago was that?
How long ago was that? That must have been 7 years ago, something like that. It wasn't a long time ago, or 5 years ago. It was the pieces. But when I gave to her, that's when it finally just clicked. That's when all the pieces inside of me, energetically, I became whole and complete, and I became, able to live in my heart and let my heart lead the path, as opposed to being caught in my head, and then I became really, really bad. Then I'm like, okay, I can navigate anything. And it's like, once you have you have everything. And like, as far as I'm concerned, we are in our hearts and we are in our bodies. It's not something we can think ourselves through. It's like, it's a heart-centered thing, and it's the balance of how to navigate the internal, landscape of oneself. And that's where it's at. That's where I figured out it's at.
I definitely agree. That is definitely where it's at. It's like, once you get out of your head and into your heart, you realize that's actually the place you're meant to navigate and steer from. Your heart sends twice as many signals to the brain as the brain does to the heart. Yeah. And, it's, I had one of the founders of Heart Math on along years back, actually. And that's basically an organization who's looked at this, in detail and the scientific aspects of it. And it's just fascinating to realize. And you can, like you said, you realize you can do anything when you're in your heart, or you can deal with. It doesn't mean it's necessarily easy. It doesn't mean it's necessarily, the simplest thing to navigate. But when you are being love, and you are, everything shifts.
That's it. And I know it sounds like, to maybe people that are listening, you said being love, it sounds cliche, and I would have thought that too. I really would have thought that, oh, what's this BS? Being love. Yeah, I've heard that a million times. Valentine's Day, pink, love, hearts. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But like, honestly, like, I was in the ceremony like a week or two ago, and I went in with that intention to like really explore for me, what is the experience of love, and also in relation to protection. And like, I really wanted to understand what that was, so I could really build myself, my inner self up from there. Because to that point, I really am starting to really get right now that, like, let me just put it like this. I want power in my life, and I want to be powerful in my life. I want to be full of power. All right. So, and what I mean by that is, the only power that there is love. There is no other power. I want to be filled with love power. I want to shift people's lives with the power of love, the power of light, the power of inspiration. You see what I'm saying? I want that power. Yes, I do. And anything else is just an illusion. It's, being on the red carpet, being on a TV show, or having money and all that other stuff. It's like, I mean, that's cool. It helps. Don't get me wrong.
In the right context.
In the right context, if you use it properly, if you're in the right, state of heart and mind, yeah, absolutely. But like, that has nothing to do with power or how many people, whatever. It's like, no, that figuring out how to move from the head to the heart.
Yep.
How to, have that sort of energy source you to where it's like, for me, it's like giving me to the loving power to really protect spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. That love is what's going to give me the inspiration and the actual energetic power to pull my body through any situation. There's nothing else that's going to give me that power except the love that I'm able to make sense within me that I have for someone else or something else or myself or everything, because it's all spirit.
Yep.
So yeah, love is love, man. Love is love, baby.
I love to love.
Love to love.
I think of I had a guy on the show a few years ago. I'm forgetting his name now, but he went around. He spent 25 years just going around the world to study different mystics and powers. He was wanting to see powers, and he saw some cool stuff, like, and he shared some of these, like these incredible, abilities that people could cultivate by, focusing for so long and putting in the work around it. And he's, I asked him, what was the most incredible, impressive thing that you saw, that you witnessed, that you experienced? He's like, I got to meet Mother Teresa. And I had seen all these different, gifts and abilities, but I realized a lot of that for me was like, I wanted that, but it was sort of like ego-based in a way. And then I got the experience, I got to be around Mother Teresa, and she was so loving, and her heart was so expansive. It literally, the field around her was felt. And he's like, that was the most. She didn't do a trick. She didn't do any mystical anything other than be the most loving being I felt. It's like it shifted me instantly. And they talk about that with, enlightened master or being. Like, you can be in the presence, and it's like because their heart is so expansive and full and overflowing. Have you read or are you familiar with Michael Singer, the book Untethered Soul?
No.
Okay, so I've talked about this before in the past, but Michael Singer, amazing guy who just decided he would be led by his heart and his intuition and just follow. He wrote another book called The Surrender Experiment, where he just surrendered to everything that came into his life. Yeah. And in his book, The Untethered Soul, my favorite part of it is he talked about how important it is to have the heart open, and that it's not just a valve pumping blood throughout our being. It's actually the valve that source energy comes through, right? Chi, life force, love, God, whatever you want to call it. And he's like, what we've done is we have spent our whole lives, it's like you own a Ferrari, but you're hitting the gas and then the brakes, constantly, like jerking down the road. It's like if you smell something that reminds you of your grandmother, cooking or whatever, your heart opens. Now you've opened yourself up to that life force to flow through you. Oh, someone says something you don't like, your heart shuts down. This happens. So you're constantly going through life, opening and closing this valve. And he's like, the only game in town is learning to just have your heart open nonstop. What happens? Now you've turned the faucet on, and it's just overflowing from you. And so I just love that, and the way he sort of paints it in that book. I recommend anyone listening to check it out. It's amazing.
That's it. I mean, that's it. That's really it, and that's a practice. I mean, you got to really think about what you just said. I mean, for anyone that's listening, and me and you, and because that's it. That's the practice to be able to meet this asshole or this person that broke my heart, or this person that is trying to hurt me, because there's a balance in being able to, allow yourself to maybe not get physically hurt, but still keep your heart open. How can you do that? Right. I'm very aware of what you're talking about. And, I'm on that path as well too. I just did it this weekend. I was with some family, and family will be family.
You think family, you're enlightened, spend a week with your family.
Family is family. You want some buttons pushed, go to family.
Exactly.
But so there was buttons, you know, pushed or whatever. And I was like, you know what? And it's interesting that you brought that up, because for a day and a half, you know, this particular person was like, you know, not happy with me and giving me this sort of, you know, attitude or negativity, whatever. And, you know, I'm like, you know what, this is not about me. In the past, I would have been affected by that, right? I would have been, you know, kind of manipulated by that, or I would have reacted back in a particular way, you know, either from ego or something like that. But, you know, I just stayed with it. And I said, you know what, let me just stay aware of the field, and basically did what you said, is just basically stayed in my heart. You know what I'm saying? Didn't react to that and just kept putting off the love, just held the space, held that field. And then in a day and a half, the person shifted.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like, and now I'm not going to react to the shift either.
Yeah.
I'm not going to react to where you weren't over here. And I'm not reacting to your shift over here as well. I'm not going to be happy now that you're like, you know, loving again. I'm just going to do what I do. That way I can count on that. And
proactive, not reactive.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. And that's definitely the practice to be aware of.
Yeah. It's like, if this happens, I'm going to be, you know, it's like that switch right there, what you talked about, realizing that you can choose your state of being no matter what you're stepping into. And, you know, it's, you know, most people live their whole lives reactive. If this happens, I'm happy. If this happens, I'm sad. And you're a puppet on a string, right? You're controlled.
I'm reacting because you did this to me and you did that to me. It's like,
you made me feel X.
Man, it becomes like it becomes so much fun when you start doing that, because you're like, I get to navigate, I get to drive my car where I want to go. I don't have to just react to all these detour signs. I literally can make a left, even if the detour sign says doesn't. I can do what I want. I can go where I want to go. I can feel how I choose to feel. Right. And that takes work. You gotta work at that. And like you said in the very beginning, it's not that everything becomes, you don't have challenges. It's not that things become easy, because sometimes you still have those hard conversations. It's not that, you know, everything's easy, because you still have to overcome old fears and old traumas and old wounds within you. You have to, you know, see it's like, no, I have to go through this, and I'm feeling like this is real, but I know that it's not, and I need to just go through this and say what I need to say. It's that you have the ability and awareness of that you are the driver, that you are the navigator, and that you have the power. No one has power over you. You know, except when we give it away, or if we don't know that we have the power, then we're giving it away.
Yeah. Smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor, so make it happen, Captain.
Make it happen, Captain. We got to have a little bit of challenge, man. That's the way we know we're going to have some victory there, man.
Would often, exactly. It's like, you can almost bet once you start on this path and you really, this stuff that you were talking about here, it's like, yes, the person out there listening, like, yes, this is sinking in. Yes, I've just started on this path myself. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling it more than ever. I get it. The light bulb is going on. It's like, okay, and be prepared to work out those muscles. Like you are going to be given the opportunity, the gift. You know, I one thing that's really served me well is starting to view everyone as the master and myself as the student, right? I'm here to learn. So the guy flicking me off on the road, he doesn't know he's giving me a gift in that moment and that he's helping me to sharpen my axe. He has no idea, right? Yeah. But once I can start viewing in that light, it's like, you know, I'm all of a sudden like this person, like, and then I'm like, hold on, like, don't take the bait, don't take the detour, like you said.
Exactly.
And that's
exactly it is, man. It's I look at it like the same way. It's Earth is like an Earth gym, and everything is you know, everything is sort of like a little test, or like if you think of like of an obstacle course. You know, and sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, Keith, you didn't freaking pass that test. Like you failed that one.
And guess what? You're going to get another chance.
I'm going to get another chance because that's exactly it, right? Because challenges only serve for us to actually overcome them. And sometimes a physical challenge oftentimes a physical challenge will present itself. And if we can make the internal, spiritual, mental, emotional shift while that is presenting itself, 9 times out of 10, if you really make that shift, it will disappear. It will.
You don't need the lesson.
You won't have to deal with it.
Yep.
Now you won't. It's not about making the shift so you don't have to directly deal with it. It's about making the internal shift because, first of all, it's the right thing to do, and that you really should want to learn, because that's why we are here.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to have a pure heart to really want the lesson, because if you're doing it just to actually make that go away, that's not the lesson. That's not the learning. That's not a pure heart. That's manipulation.
Right.
And
Good point.
And the universe picks up on that. That's like, oh, I see through your little, oh, you think you're going to manipulate me by just trying to, no, you have to really want it. You have to be in your heart and really want to enjoy the game of life, of learning constantly.
And then absolutely. And then you don't, it's like you've garnered the lesson in a sense. So it's not like, okay, this is my new life. I'm just going to be berated with the same test over and over again. And this person's acting a fool and I'm going to be loving awareness. Okay. I'm going to, it's like, okay, you're no longer, you're creating, it's like you're creating such a calm pond, right? There's no more ripples on your pond of reactivity. It's like it ultimately, the more you are in that calm, cool, positive perspective where you're just dealing with it in the what would be, acing the test. Ultimately, it's just like, okay, you just start getting things that are more of a reflection of the energy that you've been being. And therefore the guy cutting you off on the road all of a sudden is nowhere to be found, is what I found. I also think of, my friend said the other day, he's such a character. He's like, he was talking to someone about the uncomfortable stuff that we all go through. And he's like, look, anytime an emotion that's uncomfortable comes up, great. This is the ride. This is what I came here for, and I loved that perspective, like that embracing it, like, all right, I'm doing it. We're in it. Like, here's a challenge. Yep. I knew this. This is what I came for. What a flip that is, huh?
I mean, you're talking about like we can just sum it up as like, I really love this about Will Smith too, because Will Smith is one of the figures that really exemplifies this on a main scale. And he talks about it a lot, which is the fact of how he enjoys life. And I'm right there with him too. Like, this is like, you are the life. There is, and there's also life in your body, and you are the life that is in your body. Like, and that's everything to be joyful and excited about. And that's why we love looking at children, because they get it, and they can just, they're playing and they're just happy because they are not cluttered in their vision of who they are, that they are life, and they are in a constant celebratory mode of who they are, which is that life. And then the world sometimes in the past, at least, has done what it's done to children, and then they fall into like going into their head and whatnot. At least in the past has done that, right? But it's undeniable that we are no matter what, we're still life. Like, and if we can like kind of reflect and like continue to train our brain to at least acknowledge that, like we get to be excited and inspired just to be alive and to have challenges. And like, that's why I have a great day every single day. Now, do I feel great every day? No. But let's be real here. Now let's speak with, like, let's say, for example, let's talk about like something powerful. Life is powerful. There's no denying that life is here now, between you, me, everywhere, right? Life is just amazing. And no matter how I feel, life is still doing what it's doing. Life is still evolving. Life is still going. Life is still churning. Life is still mixing it up and throwing you curveball and lifting you up and like slamming you to the wall and filling you up. I mean, the fact of the matter is, life is freaking amazing. And it messed me up yesterday and I got bloody, and it's going to lift you up tomorrow and like launch you into the sky. Life is freaking amazing. Let's just talk facts. Who cares? It's almost like, who cares how you feel?
Yep.
Who cares? I'm gonna feel messed up yesterday or tomorrow, but I'm gonna feel amazing the next day. I'm not gonna react on how I feel. Life is the roller coaster. Life is the roller coaster. So yes, you're gonna get scared. Yes, you're gonna have fun. Yes, it's gonna be this. Yes, it's gonna be that. But that's life, baby. That's why we came, right?
Absolutely. Well said, my man. That's amazing.
I don't know what I just said, man, but it felt good.
It felt like life. Felt like someone who is very alive.
Man, I'm just my mommy's sunshine, like how she calls me, man.
Oh, man. So cool. Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a quick moment to tell you about our sponsor, NOOM. NOOM is a unique, habit-changing solution that helps users learn to develop a new relationship with food. And it's not a diet. No food is considered good or bad. As we talk about on this show all the time, it's all about proper balance and having good habits. And NOOM just teaches you how to look within your own mind and make better decisions for yourself. Sounds familiar, right? It's based in psychology, eating better to feel better. It focuses on the story that we tell around food and how to feel good about our choices. And they make it all super easy to do with a minimal commitment of only 10 minutes a day, which is essential for someone like me with so much on my plate. Pun intended. So if you guys would like to try out the cognitive behavioral approach to losing weight that has led to 80% of Noomers finishing the program and 60% sticking to their goals for at least 1 year, head over to noom.com/positivehead to start your trial today. That's spelled NOOM.com/positivehead. I mean, what do you have to lose except outdated habits? Perhaps a few extra pounds by signing up for the trial. Once again, that's NOOM.com/positivehead. Check it out. So one of the things that has really served me well is taking on that perspective and even expanding it to like, look, I'm an infinite, eternal being that has always been and always will be. Change is guaranteed. So if there's something I don't like, the one thing I can count on is change, right? Mm-hmm. I'm literally floating in eternity right now with you. Yeah. We're literally doing it now. Like, change is guaranteed. What else matters?
Dude,
and love is the core. And love is the core of it.
Dude, like this interview's done. Like what else is there? I mean, yeah. I just, yes, I've been having like some fun with that as well. It's like really anchoring my mind in that and really making that common conversation so my brain can get used to that. It's like we are an eternal being residing in these physical bodies. Like, I have eternal health. I have eternal vitality. I have eternal awareness, intelligence, and just acknowledging, as for some reason, I think that I'm gonna live to be 150 years old.
I'm with you.
And there's no reason why I can't live even beyond that. But I think right now it's gonna serve its purpose probably around there. But the truth of the matter is that we're this energy that's even beyond 150. Like, and what part of our brain says, I could be on 150 or 1,000 years old? It's like, you know what? Like, the truth of the matter is that if we really believe and know that we are these eternal beings, that's our identity, right? Mm-hmm. That's our identity. It's like, but how much do we dedicate our mind power, our mental power, our heart power to that alignment? A lot of people on earth, probably not that much, but the ones that do become those, I would gather to say, those Buddhas, those saints, the ones that dedicate to aligning their minds to the truth, which is that, obviously we're not these bodies, but we're these eternal beings. And, the more that we align with that, like I've become, like, I used to eat a lot of meat, and now, I'm just completely plant-based. Mm-hmm. But, when I ate a lot of meat, what was in alignment with that is that I was very ego-based and I was very earthly driven and very material in the world. And the food that I ate was like a lot heavier. And now that as I've gone through my elevation of my own consciousness, and gotten higher in my consciousness, and the food has subsequently gotten higher in vibration as well too.
Mm-hmm.
And I've realized that, oh, it's one and the same. And as I elevate, everything elevates around me. And being an eternal being, and people, this kind of messes people up sometimes, but I'm like, look, I don't need food. Like, let's think about that. I don't need
You're not going to cease
food.
existing if you don't eat.
Exactly. I'll cease existing if I stop being life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And but the more earthbound that I become, the more of the earth that I need. Right. So the more earth,
Mm-hmm.
so and the higher that I elevate because I used to be hypoglycemic. I used to have to eat every couple of hours. My attitude would just be like, I'd sweat and get weak, and just, it would be wild.
Wow.
Then I haven't eaten. I went through a cleanse, and I didn't eat for like days, and just everything just completely shifted my consciousness of myself. So, I'm not there just yet with these enlightened beings, but I imagine that the more, like, that's never gonna, evolution never changes, and you can elevate there. I don't know what the end is to the elevation of consciousness, right? So, like, but I assume the more that I elevate, the less attachment that I'll have here on earth, until, like, maybe these enlightened masters, we've heard about these enlightened masters turning into light and
Yep.
becoming light and becoming these things. Like I said, I'm not close to that right now, but it's like, why not? Why not go for it? Why not play that game? Why not,
Yep.
go for it and say, you know what? I am an eternal being, because I know that for a fact is that they realized who they were.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's, you talk about like, where does it all lead? And you start thinking of eternity and infinity and these concepts that, are really challenging for our brain to even,
Yeah.
come to terms with.
Yeah.
It's like source, God, higher self, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, is, you think about the idea of it being infinite, and infinite, it never ends, the amount and ways in which it can experience itself. It's like, you might as well just get real comfortable with the iterations in the change, and just, learn to really just take the ride and be in your heart, like we've talked about. It's like, that is, because where it really is challenging and painful is all the resistance to what is, and all the holding on and expectation. I believe expectation is great as long as it's fine, as long as there's a healthy sense of detachment, because it's going to show up however it's going to show up. You can have a sort of course that you're setting, but being overly attached to it, we all know from experience at this point, it rarely comes like we envision it. And so, yeah, that may be, my idea of where I'm going, that set me in a certain direction, and who knows what surprises lurk, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, the what you're saying about, like, the mind not being able to really understand or grab on to the concepts of an eternal being are exactly that. And it's never going to be able to grasp a concept of, never being born and never dying, undying. The mind cannot grasp that. What I've come to realize is that those concepts, what happens to me, so I guess one of two things can happen. Let's put it like this. Either the mind can struggle and resist, like we were saying, and try to understand it and not get it and fight it and resist it and say, well, it doesn't make sense. And that can't. And it can stay in its old logical side, right? It can try to keep it up here. Or when it comes down, when the person can figure out how to bring certain concepts and energies down into the heart space, because we have to learn how to put that together, right? When certain concepts like eternal being, undying, not being born, that doesn't have an effect in my brain. At that point in time, when we're speaking about these sorts of concepts, what happens with me right now, currently at least, is that I feel an expansiveness, an opening, in my heart space, not in my physical heart, but I feel an energetic field around my heart, like a widening. I
Mm,
feel I feel my body. It's like I start to feel more of my body when you were talking about those concepts of these eternal beings that we are, undying, not being born, and those sorts of concepts that the mind cannot, grasp. You know, my mind doesn't grasp it. My body and my heart grasps
mm,
it. And I start to have a body sensorial, energetic, expansive experience that
mm,
starts with my heart, and then it starts to expand through my body, and my body starts to literally, I start to feel more power and energy in my body as you speak about that, because that's just the way I see it. Is what you're speaking about, and what this is the truth. Like, we are eternal beings, right? And then being able to plug into that and plug into it consistently is that sort of when we'll be sourced by that
mm,
ultimate loving power.
I
And
love
it's
the way
something we'll
you.
feel down here. It won't be something
Mhm.
that we'll get up here. We'll never get it up
Yep.
here in the
Yeah.
head. We'll start
Yeah.
to feel it. We'll have a different experience in our
Yeah.
heart and in our body.
Yeah. I love the way you broke that down. So, so good. So eloquent. I think back to my first many years ago. I did for the first time with dear friend Craig, who's been leading ayahuasca ceremony for like 25 years. And I
Mm.
was having my first, plant medicine journey with that particular, plant medicine. And I remember I got really in my head and fear, a lot of fearful stuff coming in. And he came over, and this is his, like, you've been guiding people through this for so long. He's like, I've seen this one before. And he's like, okay, I want you to take, all these irrational fears, which we can all relate to, in daily life as well. You don't, ayahuasca, of course, just, makes it on steroids, the experience of it, like times 10, you're feeling it so intensely. And he said, okay, I want you to take a moment and just focus on your breathing, deep breathing, and imagine all of your consciousness is up here in your head right now, where all that fear is happening. I want you to imagine a string, a cord of light going to your heart and just moving your whole awareness from this place, behind your face and down into your heart, and just feeling it drop down, feeling your whole, like your eyes are there, everything is there. And, of course, especially being in this particular state, it all of a sudden went from all this fear to, like, I felt so expansive and so able to deal with it. It's kind of like the way he put it. He's like, look, now your center of gravity is in your heart. You can deal and process these emotions and energies and challenges and fears in a totally different way when they're being dealt with from this place. That it's like trying to sharpen an axe with like a little stone versus a big machine that's designed to do this sharpening. It's like you're using a tool that is so much more equipped to process these emotions and these energies. And it was like, oh, wow. Okay. So the mind is more for figuring out math problems and this is more for processing emotions. I got it, And so it was really a powerful experience for me to get that. And I now work anytime I catch myself caught in these, the mousetrap is going, okay, up, move your center of awareness down into your heart. And it's a game
Oh
changer.
man, plant medicines are so powerful, and that's for many of us, that's something that is such a transformative experience, because it gives us it roots us powerfully in our heart, and it teaches us how to start to stay down there and how to navigate from there. Because
Yeah.
like you said, once you learn, and that's the discipline, that's the practice outside of any ceremony, is learning how to integrate, and
Yep.
how in everyday life, how do I stay down here, how do I catch myself when I go up in my head and I start wanting to be right, or I start getting insecure, how do I go back and how do I find my way back home, down into my heart? And how do I do that? So, and that's different for everybody, that's different for it might be, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's knowing when to disconnect. It's different for everybody, but it's definitely an art. And Mother Teresa, has really, I want to say, mastered, that art of how to stay in that space and use her brain when she needs to, like she said, use it for smaller tasks that it can handle, because it can't handle matters of the heart. It doesn't have the processing power. The brain is powerful for things, but it's not meant to process the matters of love, emotions, heart, very complex, multi-dimensional information. It can't do that. Not from within. It can probably do it from a distance from without, but not from within.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Yeah. It's like we're all learning to become heartists, as we
that's it.
Creating from the heart, living from the heart.
That's it, man.
Woo! It makes the journey quite a bit smoother. I mean,
it's interesting because now that we've talked about that, I feel really calm. I feel really chill. Like I feel really good. It completely changed the space between you and me in this interview and this podcast right here and right now. And it's just very powerful, and that's what it does to our lives. When this, because we're talking about love, we're talking about the heart, when one is able to let the heart, or become a heartist, like how you were just saying so beautifully. I love that word. And being able to stay down in the heart and let the heart navigate and lead the life starts to calm down and starts to become, you have a different experience of life, and it starts to fill out and it starts to flourish in different ways. And the problems may come, or challenges, because we always need some sort of challenge, but the challenges elevate. They become different types of challenges. Instead of, second grade challenges, like maybe something we had last year, this year we're getting third and fourth grade challenges. And we want those because, again, we're here to learn. That's what we want. We want to evolve the soul. We want to, work it out.
Yeah. I love your courage, the way you approach, talking. Hey, I'm inviting this challenges are blessings. I'm inviting that in, not running from it, not getting to a place where it's like, okay, if I get all the work done and I do it right, then I'll be real safe over here and there will be no more challenges, right? It's like, that's just not the way it really is going to unfold. And however, knowing as the challenge arises, like, oh, here comes, it looks like a lump of coal. My job is to transform this into the diamond it's ultimately going to be in my pocket when I figure out, the gift hiding within the challenge.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Like what is safe? It's like I have an answer for that, but first I have the question, because what many of us think safety is not safe. It's not. It's like you said, things change constantly. That's the only thing you can guarantee is evolution, change, growth, expansion. Something different tomorrow than there was today. There's no safety in the physicality of this world. Now, I don't care what you do, what you put on, what you put in your body, you're never going to be safe from everything here. That's no fun. Where I think that where I know that there's safety is in knowing thyself. Knowing who you are, knowing what you are, knowing where you come from, and figuring the self out. And like, I'm not trying to go out here and die. I have a mission that my soul wants to accomplish while I'm here. You know, something that I agreed to do, that I want to do, that I'm passionate about, right? Something that I want to build and take part of building here. But I'm not afraid to like die. I'm like, shit, if it happens, you know, unexpectedly, well, I'm gonna go back home. I don't want to go back home yet because I don't think I'm done here just yet. But like,
Yep.
you know, I'm not afraid to like, I'm not afraid of the darkness. Like, no, like I think it's important that, and again, like I love having these conversations because it's like, the more that we talk about, you know, spirit and love and these sorts of things, I have something to look forward to. Like, I know, because I've convinced my brain, right? My brain at times didn't believe it. So if I didn't convince my brain enough, like a commercial, that's why they play commercials,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Tell
because the brain,
vision.
tell live vision, right? Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's like, I need to continually tell my brain the truth of who it is and what so then it'll start to be, well, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yep.
So I do 10 love podcasts, and I talk about love the entire time. My brain is going to be very convinced that, oh, well, then there's nothing to be afraid of. So if we die, we die, and we're love. We are eternal beings. We're undying and we're unborn. So this is just I get it. Okay, great. I'm convinced.
Yep. Yep.
So for me, that safety really comes from within the self.
Yeah, you said essentially one of an awesome guest I had on the show a while back, Richard Rudd, who wrote the Gene Keys. I don't know if you're familiar, but
I've heard of that. I haven't
yeah,
read it, but I've definitely heard of it.
He's
Yes.
man, inspired dude, and he says fear is safe. And like, what a concept, right? That's essentially what I'm hearing. Fear is safe. And really the greatest risk of all is taking no risks, trying to play it super safe. I knew a guy one time, and he was so caught up in fear. He'd kind of trust fund kid sort of thing. And he was so caught up in fear. I remember walking around town with him and one time, and we're at a crosswalk, and he gets standing behind the light pole, like as close as he can, making himself as skinny as possible. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, he's like, well, there's oncoming traffic. If someone should veer off and hit, come off of the road and up onto the sidewalk, I'll be behind this, this light post.
Wow.
And I'm just like, wow. And that's like an extreme other end of like, I haven't seen him in years. I hope he snapped out of that, because if the worst fate he could have is surviving in his little home, scared to ever live, right? And I think a lot of people get caught up in some degree of that. That's a pretty extreme example, but yeah.
That's God bless our brothers and sisters, and that, yeah, because when we grew up, there wasn't fear in the air like how there's fear in the air right now.
Right.
We grew up and parents could just let us go outside and play and go blocks and miles away and not have to worry about their child being taken.
Yeah.
And there was no fear in the air, and it's a very different world right now. So it's a very different navigation way to navigate it. And it's easy to get caught up in the fear. And I've definitely found that I've had to make a very, very, very conscious effort on creating my own love bubble and protecting myself from the default vibe of the world out there. Because if I allow myself to be inundated by the ethers of what's just floating out there, that will overtake my mind, and I'll be afraid of this and I'll be afraid of that. And I don't watch TV. Well, I have a saying, like, if you're not dissecting the TV is dissecting you. So when I do watch TV, I'm really dissecting it. I'm like, I'm looking at the set design. I'm looking at the positioning of the characters. I'm looking at these things because that's all the most powerful messaging that there is. And, so I'm just like, I have a passion. I love like being aware of those sorts of things. I look at billboards and I look at how they're designed, and the characters and how they're positioned, and it's just I'm just fascinated by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super fascinating. It's like, especially when you can use this medium for, to really help people and spread consciousness and awareness and teach people that, that's the problem that I have with so much programming. It's like so fear-based and dark, and it's like, oh, here's another, oh man, the idea of extraterrestrials, so exciting. Oh, here's another one where they invade and destroy us, and it's like, come on, show me some good, something juicy, not just come on. And so it's it's really interesting. I hope we'll continue to see more and more of people using this medium to, it's the same reason I've done 1,400 of these podcasts, like you were talking about earlier. It's like,
wow.
We teach best what we know most need to learn, and I need it more than anyone, so I know I already benefit, because I'm just literally, when I get to have a conversation with someone like you, what are we doing? We're bathing in a vibration. We're jumping into a vibrational pool and swimming in it. And that which is likened to itself is drawn. So the more I'm putting myself there, the more I'm, rewiring my brain. The neural pathways are, now, like you said, I'm convinced. I mean, how could I not be, right? It's like just that repetition, just like with anything, is just such a powerful, powerful thing to do. And that's why anyone, of course, who's tuning into this broadcast, out of the myriad, infinite things that are vying for your precious attention, you buy what you pay attention to, right? You're doing it. And it's just like, keep on doing it and keep on. And every day may not be, all, rainbows and unicorns. That's okay. It's beautiful too.
It's the only way forward, the love and the positivity. It's the only thing that will last. Everything else, it may not seem like it. It may seem like what's happening, particularly in the world right now, is gonna be here, the new normal. But the only normal is evolution and ascension. Is life. The only way forward is the elevation, is the love, is the good. So any stint, and I say stint or flicker of darkness, or anything like that, it literally is just a flicker. We have to know, we have to think logically and rationally, and anchor in our spiritual knowingness on like what is. If it's true that, I am an eternal being, and I am that I am that I am, and all that good stuff. If that is true, then the only way forward is that, because that's all that there is. And everything else is just the contrast. If you're going to experience the divinity, the greatness of who you are, if I'm going to experience, overcoming a great challenge and having a great victory, I have to have a great opponent, or I have to have a great illusion, right, to work through. I have to. Yep. So, but the truth, but no matter how real the illusion feels and how much we hurt, it is still like an illusion. And the fact of the matter is that it is still, the way forward is still the way forward. And spirit is still spirit. And love is still love. And love still is eternal. And things still are undying. And I still am an eternal being. So if that is the landscape, then we have to, everything else really fits in the context of that. Yep. Even what we're going through in the world right now, which can seem very scary for a lot of people, it still fits in the context of the fact that we are these eternal beings living in this sort of evolutionary phase of ascension and love. Even though the realness of this illusion is right smack dab in our face, and it's being bombarded with us, we have to like really own the dominion, the control over our mind, so we can actually control the thoughts and block out that fear. And that way we'll start to be able to live from a more true place of love and positivity.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've never seen a work of art without shadow in it. A great work of art. And when you can like, okay, this is, the butterfly as it's transitioning into, or the caterpillar as it's transitioning into the butterfly. If you just look at a particular moment, it's a hot mess, right? It's like, the caterpillar
messy,
cells are goo and melted.
Right. Get out of here. I'm claustrophobic. Get out of this thing. Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Exactly. So
beautiful, just beautiful.
This has been so awesome. You're amazing, Kiko.
You definitely. Too, thank you for having me, man. It's
been such a beautiful journey. As we sort of wind down here, I do like to always ask if you have something fun up your sleeve in way of a synchronicity or serendipity story or positive paranormal story. We always love a good story. If you have something to share that you think would be inspiring.
A positive paranormal story. Man, I got oh my gosh. Well, which one should I pick? Well, I know that
all of them.
I'll share one that's kind of telling in these times, which is great because we get like, sort of like this guidance. And one of the guidance that we've got like from spiritual guidance was when to sell our house. And we sold our house when we lived in Los Angeles. We sold our house in 2019, right before 2020, right before this all started to like go down. And we were notified that, hey, this is things are going to shift. And so, when we get, guidance, we listen, like listen to that guidance. And the brain can want to have its opinion, but the brain doesn't understand spiritual guidance because it wants to rationalize it. And that's when the brain has to be sort of like put on pause or put on sleep mode. And you have to like activate the real power that's really guiding things, down in that heart space and whatnot. So, and we were in that house for 15 years. Wow. And so we, definitely listened to that spiritual guidance and moved about 3 hours north. And that being out of LA, oh my gosh, I could not imagine. That would be such a vibrational not match for me right now and our daughter and our wife, her mother, being in Los Angeles. So, just being able to, and we're getting spiritual guidance, we're getting that intuitional guidance all the time, but being able to disconnect that brain, to trust it. And it's going to be like the whole Mother Teresa thing, like you said. It's not anything, all this wild stuff. It's really, really simple. We all have that guidance within, that intuition, and it needs to be developed. So, but that's my story. It was not all over the place. There's an exorcism in there and there's all some other stuff too, man. But like, that's all the fun, like wild stuff. But this one is like just, the one that could really benefit people is listening to that guidance on our way forward, because what's needed now in the world is for everyone to know how to guide themselves and how to navigate themselves. Don't look outside for someone to guide you. It's up to us to learn how to guide ourselves from within. That's the way forward, not someone else. If someone else is guiding you to listen to someone else and they're not guiding you within and pointing that finger back within you, go in the opposite direction. Anyone that's giving you guidance should be giving you guidance to go within. That's the only way forward. Yep.
It's absolutely agree. It's like, someone can help lead you to water, right? Someone can point the way. Someone can, we're all walking each other home in a sense. Yeah. And if someone is saying, and I am the permanent, means by which you access your divinity, run for the hills.
It's so funny. That's so funny. It's just so funny when you look at it. It's like, yeah, right, please.
Yeah. I know. It's such so tired and such an old paradigm idea. Even, this like I have access to your divinity.
Yeah.
But all part of the journey, I suppose.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So for everyone who's listening who would like to connect with you and follow your work and, however, what's the best way for people to get in touch?
Best way for me is on Instagram. I'm at Kiko Ellsworth with 2 L's. Yeah, and everything, you can get to everything there. The teachings, the school, the everything that I do, the fun stuff, just everything is there.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. I do have one final question to ask you as our cliche final question. Oh, you know what? I just realized I have my cliche opener question and my cliche closing question, and you got me. I got so quick into this. I think that might be the first time I ever haven't asked it. So I'm gonna ask you both. Okay. I like switching it up anyway. So this is normally what I start with. You're in it, and now everyone probably knows the answer. They could probably answer for you. But you're in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You got 10 floors to answer. What do you say?
Life. Living life. That's it.
Everyone just answered right before you said it. So yeah, very obviously so, my friend. All right, here's the other one. Speaking of life, in 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life, according to Kiko Ellsworth?
Yes. To remember who I am. To remember who I am.
And so it is.
And so it is, baby.
Kiko, thank you, man. This has been definitely lit me up, and I know the audience is lit up. So thank you for bringing the vibration.
Thank you, brother. I love you. I appreciate you. I love all of you that are listening as well too. Love yourself. Let's love each other. We got this.
Indeed, we do. Till next time, everyone, journey well. Also, quickly, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you to download the Golden Key, audio or ebook, as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the code POSITIVEHEAD. I also wanted to remind you that I will now be doing a live Q&A every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time on the new social audio app Clubhouse. I have really been wanting to connect and interact with all of you more for quite some time, and I'm super excited to now have 2 new ways to do it. First, if you're already on Clubhouse, be sure to follow me and click the little bell on my profile and select to always be notified when I go live on the Clubhouse app. And if you'd like to connect on an even more intimate Zoom gathering once a month, now you can do that too by registering at goldenkey.gift.